We are at the quarter mark of the NBA season. Let's talk early MVP. Who is your first pick?
You know, I'm going to go with Jason Tatum. I cannot overlook the fact that his performance this quarter mark part of the season has been really great, right? Really dominant, really consistent, I would say. Almost as like he took notes from his uh, demise, if you will, in the finals, double back, to fix those things this off season, and then came to this current season ready to go. And I really like that. I think that the fact that the Boston Celtics are top of the East, I mean, I think they're still in the number one spot as we speak. They're holding strong. And I'm talking about the gap between one, two, and then three is pretty great. 3, 4 games. So they're really solid there and have been playing solid basketball. I will say that Jason Tatum is benefiting from a great roster, right? His partner in Jalen Brown, Marcus Smart, Al Horford, their roster has been pretty. Uh, Pritchard coming off the bench. You got uh, Brogdon and White. I mean, they have a really nice roster. The only missing piece right now is RW3, right? That's the only one that's missing right now. Everybody else has been pretty much consistent in their roster. So he has been benefiting from a great roster. But his play, even with that, is still pretty good. So I have Jason Tatum. I think right now he's holding one of my slots in the MVP for this season's race. So yeah, what about you?
Yes, Jason Tatum, I think is the obvious pick at this point of the season. We're talking about the Boston Celtics. I think they are the team to beat in the Eastern Conference and probably overall. I mean, Tatum, being a three-time All-Star in the
Mhm.
2022 Eastern Conference Finals MVP, he has that in his back pocket as well. He's the top 5 offensive leader in the NBA amongst pretty good competition and
Mhm.
Luka, Giannis, I mean, Shea
Mhm.
Gilgeous and KD. I mean, just what he means overall to the Boston Celtics year by year, he's gotten better. And this year is no different. And it really shows. He's gotten stronger. That
Yep.
was one of the knocks on his game. He came
Mhm.
back and he totally revamped his body. He's unafraid of taking the last shot. He plays defense and he is benefiting, as you mentioned, from a
Mm.
pretty good team. But you still got to win ball games. You know,
Exactly.
you still got to win
Exactly.
ball games. And right now, that's what the Boston Celtics are doing. And a big part of that is because of Jason Tatum.
I totally agree. I think that from a um, eye test, the things you said exactly is what it is, right? Some of those types of things you just don't still on the see on the stat line, right? But from the stat line perspective, I mean, what he's fourth in points per game in the league, like in the league, and he's not the primary ball handler, although he carries the ball and he holds the ball often. He's what 12 double doubles so far this season and 13 plus games over 30. Like so, he is
Oh, wow.
putting up the numbers just from a stats perspective. But when you couple that with all the other tangible skills that you presented, I mean, why wouldn't he be? Why wouldn't he be? And why wouldn't you benefit from a great roster? That is what you're supposed to do, right? That's what produces winning basketball. And yeah, so Jason Tatum is one of my most definitely one of my lists, one of my persons on the list for MVP.
Yes. Okay. Now, I have to go with Giannis Antetokounmpo as my top 2 for MVP. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's 6'11 and 242, and the way he handles the ball and maneuvers up and down the court, that is just impressive. Amongst his personal accolades, I think we all know, what they are, but he's a top 5 offensive leader. He empties the tank every single night. There is not a play that Giannis takes off. I
Not
mean,
one.
he gives you 120% every night, and you just don't really see that much from superstars. Mhm.
Mm.
I think he carried the Bucks on his back without Chris Middleton, but now that Chris is back, similar to what Jokic is experiencing in Denver with Jamal Murray being back, a lot of the weight will be lifted from Giannis, I think. So hopefully he can still be at the top of everyone's mind. The Bucks are top 3 in the Eastern Conference. He's and that's just Giannis. Like Giannis, it's all because of Giannis, and he is number 2 on my list for MVP.
Yeah, I have Giannis as well. I have Giannis as well for all the things you said. Giannis will give it to you on both ends of the floor
Hmm.
all the time. If he's on the floor, you're going to get it, right? And I think that is one of the great attributes that Giannis has. And we also know that if Giannis is not happy with his game, he will, regardless of what arena he's in, he's going to practice something, whether you like it other team players or not. It's just going to go down, right?
Yes.
And I think that attributes a lot to why he is so valuable, because we're talking about most valuable, right? Most valuable on the Bucks roster. Because really, even if he doesn't play, 'cause I think he missed about maybe 3 games so far, maybe 3. He's missed games. His impact is still, when he's not there, it's really, really missed. And I think that the success of the Milwaukee Bucks go through Giannis. And that's just what it is. So yeah, I have Giannis on my list as well. Okay,
Mm.
so I have this third slot for me is tricky, and I'm going to give you the name. However, by the end of the season, and I'm going to give you the name only because one of the criteria is I'm stumbling, right? Because I can't, I don't know how to explain the fact that I'm going to give you this name, and I believe this person will be there at the end of the season. There is somebody else on my list as well, which makes it like an honorable mention or a fourth candidate, somebody that I'm going to be looking to see how they move. The only reason why this person currently is not one of the top 3 as we speak today is because their team is not top 6. For me, MVP must come from the top 6. If you don't have a winning team, if you're not winning basketball and you're not part of the top 6, why are we even talking about you being an MVP candidate? That's number 1, right? And I have Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, for
Oh.
me, is
Mm.
the most valuable player in the league because the Brooklyn Nets started from the bottom and now they're here. And he was able to do that with Kyrie Irving being out for a substantial amount of time, Ben Simmons being out for a substantial amount of time. And when he came in, he was still out, you know. But, he's been playing, unlike Jason Tatum, unlike Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's been playing with solid role players. Whereas uh, Giannis Antetokounmpo and Jason Tatum has been playing with stars, right? They may not be superstars, but they are star, solid rotational players. Been on the roster year after year with these teams. KD didn't have that. He doesn't. He doesn't
Mhm.
have that. Now that Kyrie is back and appearing to be coming back in full fashion, Ben Simmons is looking pretty good. He's getting his rhythm back as well. KD carried. We're talking about people carrying. KD carried the Nets from the bottom of the Eastern Conference to a top 6 seed. How you do that?
Mm.
And you don't think I'm going to recognize the fact that he is still the man? Yeah, so KD is on my list. I think that he will remain on the list because I believe that the Nets, although I have to see it because, I ain't really bought into the Nets, but I do recognize that KD has been able to work with and you, right? To
Mhm.
help coaching changes, all of that debacle that he had to go through, and he's still been able to take the Nets from the bottom to the top. And you don't think that's valuable? Yeah,
Yeah,
KD
it
for
is.
sure, for sure. And with all his stats, if you look at his record, if you look at the numbers, yeah, why not? He's right up there with Giannis, right up there with Jason Tatum when we're talking about the stat line, points, rebounds, and assists, 3-point shooting, right? Clutch shots. He's all of that. And he's been able to do that with a roster that has not as been as solid, with an organization that's kind of unstable. They're getting solid now, but to bring a team all the way quickly, and because some of these other teams haven't been able to do that. Kevin Durant, my third pick for
Ooh.
most valuable player.
Okay. Wow. I wouldn't be mad at KD and have to agree with everything you said, but I gotta go with Luka Doncic. Luka is ranking right up there with Kevin Durant, with Giannis, and with Jason Tatum. It's hard
Mm-hmm.
to overlook him, especially when he's been a one-man show in Dallas. I mean, you coined it several videos ago. I mean, he's one of the only all-stars in his entire draft class, him along and Trey Young. I mean, come on. I mean, Luka is nearly averaging a triple double with 32 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists. That is insane. And to have to do that on a nightly basis and to lead his team in all statistical categories except blocks,
All.
all. Yeah. I mean, like, is anybody else playing? We're talking about everybody playing with stars. I would say Luka is not playing with stars because he has to do everything in order for them to win basketball games. He sat out a game recently with a quad injury and they got blown out. Like, Luka is the man in Dallas.
And he was my honorable mention.
Oh,
And the
okay.
only reason why I didn't put him on my third is because they're not top 6 in
Mhm.
the Western Conference. That's the only reason why. However, I
Yes.
contend that by the end of the season, 2 on my list, KD, Luka, and somebody else. Now, I don't know who that third option will be, but for the same reasons that I believe KD should be recognized as MVP, I equal that to why Luka. I do know that if the Dallas Mavericks want to see Luka win games and see him be on the list of MVP candidates for this season, they need to
Yes.
get him somebody else. It is
Mhm.
clear that the Dallas Mavericks are missing the production of Jalen Brunson. I'm not saying it has to be Jalen Brunson, but they need a production like Jalen Brunson, right? And until they get that for him, I don't know if the Dallas Mavericks can crack the top 6 and be there for the rest of the season. That's the thing. So that's the only reason why I don't have Luka. But actually, if he can crack, if the Luka and the Dallas Mavericks can crack the top 6, he
Mhm.
will be one of the 3 finalist for MVP candidate. He has to be. He
Yep.
has to be because again, the one man show, but that one man show is not winning basketball games consistently, and that's the issue for me. That's why I had him on the outside of my top 3 looking in at this moment in the quarter mark of the 2023 NBA season because I do believe that he will be there, especially now that December 15th is coming and they can do some trades and stuff. Maybe they'll
Yeah.
get him somebody because I can tell you right now it's not going to be Kemba Walker with his 8 points. His
Oh, no, 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 no.
first display for the Dallas Mavs. No,
Oh,
not gonna happen.
goodness.
So they need somebody else, and if they can get that for Luka and get that for the Dallas Mavs to help propel Luka and the Dallas Mavs to a top 6 consistent seed in the West, then by the end of the season, he will be top candidate for MVP. Yes, so Luka's on my list as well, but I just couldn't put him there because of where their standing is, and the other 3 candidates, Jason Tatum, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Kevin Durant, are clearly top 6 in their conferences. So